Hello and welcome to Tech Deals. Today this is a how-to video. We're going to be installing additional memory and a solid-state drive into this computer. I have previously reviewed this computer. This is the Acer Predator G3-710 desktop gaming computer. I will put a link right here to the initial unboxing and overview of this computer. In the video description below will be additional links to Windows desktop performance and gaming performance. Now, I've brought the camera forward so I can aim it down inside the machine and you can see what we're doing. I actually like this machine. I've opened it up already and taken a look inside to see what's in here. And I have to tell you, it's very, very easy to install stuff in this computer. I like this case. Now, you're going to need a standard Phillips head screwdriver. You should not need any other tools. Now this one has a magnetic bit on the end, which is really handy for working in computers. You don't have to have one, but if you do, it just makes life easier. There are two screws on the side of the case, one here and one here, and these are the only things you have to unscrew to get into it. So we undo our screws here. And I just had to turn the machine a bit because I still have the monitors on my desk. They're heavy, I don't like moving them. Alrighty, let's make sure I have this in the frame. There is a catch right here. You're going to put your hand in and you simply pull it to the side. You'll see the ridges over on this side. You just pull it that far and then it lifts straight off. You have to just make sure you catch it off the foot there. You just sort of lift it this way and pull. So I'll set the case aside. The lid aside, excuse me, and inside you can see the inside of this computer. Now you briefly saw the inside of this machine in the initial unboxing and overview of this computer, but we'll take a closer look. If you've never been inside one of these before, this up here is your power supply, and this computer has a really nice 500-watt power supply made by a company called Lite-On. It is rated for 500 watts at 50 degrees Celsius. That's actually a decent power supply. A lot of pre-built machines don't have a nice power supply like that. Right here you see the fan to your CPU. I'll move this out of the way. This is the fan and the heatsink on top of your processor. That's the Intel quad-core chip. Just over here we have the 8 gigabytes of system RAM. We also have 3 additional slots with which to upgrade that. This computer will support up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. You probably will never need that much, but it can if you want to. Over here we have our hard drive. This is the 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive that the machine comes with. What we will be doing is we have to clone or copy what's on that drive onto our SSD in order to make the machine boot from this. It comes with software. It's much easier than you think. I'll show you we'll show that at the end of the video. This is your video card. This is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 950 graphics card. And here is the PCI Express power cable that plugs into it. And here's an extra one. What I love about this computer is it's upgradable. You could put in a 970 or even 980 later on in the future if you wanted to upgrade the graphics. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is show you the system RAM because it's by far the easiest thing to show how to upgrade the memory. What I've got here is 16 gigabytes of DDR4 memory in a match set. I don't need both of these. I just happen to have this kit, which is why I'm using it. There we go. In the video description below will be a link to a single memory stick that you can use in here. You do not have to buy two. I have these for another machine. So, boy, aren't those nice looking. Corsair Vengeance LPX memory, one of my preferred brands. Oh, we'll turn that over. I only need one of these. Now, I could install both, and that would give me 24 gigabytes of RAM. But if you install both, then the memory ends up in single channel configuration. It's currently in single channel now, and one of the reasons to upgrade is to put it into 2-channel mode, which actually doubles the performance of your RAM. You'll see one of the memory slots is black, and then 2 are white, and then the one the memory stick is installed in is black. DDR memory is keyed. This is DDR4, and this machine requires DDR4. And the key here is in a location that is different from 2 and 3 and so on. You can also identify DDR4 memory. Let's see if I can hold this while the camera gets focused. If you look, it's not even across the bottom. The keys are actually taller. The golden fingers are taller in the middle than they are on either end. That's an easy way to identify DDR4. If you look at the slots on the motherboard, the key looks like it's in the middle, but not quite the notch. It's actually a little bit further that way. And so what I'm going to do is take a look and see, okay, which way do I want to put this in? Nope, I want to put it in that way with the key facing the bottom of the machine. Now the way we install this is there are 2 plastic tabs on either end of a memory slot. I'll go ahead and open them all so you can see them there. And then 1, 2, 3. You don't have to open them all, I'm just showing them to you. To remove the memory, I'll go ahead and take this out just to show you. That actually pops the memory out. Do it on both sides, and it comes straight out. Now this looks different than this does. This is just a heat spreader, and for the speed of this memory, it just looks nice. It's not important. Since they expect nobody to look at it, they don't put a pretty spreader on it. So to reinstall, we just make sure that the tabs are out on both ends. Line the notch up. The memory goes in straight vertically. There are notches on either end it slides into. You're just going to put one finger on either side and push straight down, and you'll hear a click on both ends. So 1, 2. They didn't go quite in evenly. You don't want to install your next memory stick in the slot next to it. You want to put it in the same color. So in this case, I'm going to skip the white and put it in the black. That'll make it dual channel memory. And I check my key. This does not require a lot of force. If you have to use a lot of force, you're doing something wrong. I'll put the memory in, and I'll just push down gently. And there we go. The RAM's installed. Now, if you only want to install RAM in this computer, you're done. Put this down, put the cover back on, screw it on. There's nothing left to do. When I turn the computer on, and I'll edit this video and then I'll show the computer booting. I'll show you where in Windows to go check, but you're done. There's no configuration necessary to make Windows see the additional memory. But we're going to now install a solid state drive. Now this computer gives you a nice place to put it, and I really like this case, and I'll show you why. This is the hard drive. A solid state drive is not going to fit over here, but they do provide screw holes in the bottom, which is really nice. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes to screw this drive into the case. Now, do you have to screw this into the case? Not really. There's no moving parts. It's basically a fancy USB flash drive. It's just flash memory. You could quite literally just stick it in there, plug in the cable, and be done with it, and it would work just fine. But who wants to do that? That's not a very clean installation. So there are 2 screws right here, and there's actually one more I discovered after trying this the first time. There's one screw way back here. Let me see if I can tilt the computer up so you can see it. It's way back in the corner. Oh, is that in the way? Let's try this. There we go. It's right there. This is where having a magnetic screwdriver bit is so helpful. Let's take the easy ones off first. Magnetic screwdriver bit is really nice. By the way, if you're watching this going, boy, that sure seems like a lot of work to change out a drive. Well, it's not bad if you've done it before. The challenge is, if you've never done this before, it can certainly seem intimidating. That's why I make these videos, and if it seems like I go slowly, it's because I'm trying to make this so you can follow along at home by just watching this video and do it yourself. I'll take my screwdriver and I will go to this backspace. Now, Acer does sell a version of this computer that comes with a solid state drive already in it. And here we go. There's the screw I pulled out of the back. But that machine is almost twice the price. That's $1,450. Now for $1,450, They give you a faster processor. They give you, it already comes with 16 gigs of RAM. They give you a graphics card that is twice as powerful. It comes with a GTX 970 instead of 950. So it's got more stuff in it. It's more powerful. In fact, I also believe it comes with a more powerful power supply. I think it comes with a 700 watt power supply, but it's twice the money. I'm showing you how to do this without doing all that. Now, let me lift this up so you can see it. Do you see all these cables in the screen thing? Yeah, this is just a plastic holder. What you've got to do here is push the cables down to get the tabs out of the way, and then gently, and I'm doing this so you can see it on camera as a challenge. The trick is to get the cables out of the green clip. It's easier to do them a few at a time than to try to pull them all out at once. Once those are out of the way, do I have them all? Yep. Now, this is your hard drive, this is your power connector, and this is your data connector. They've provided you a handy pull tab. Pull your data connector out and just push that to the side. Your power cable, this is connected to the same cable. This is, well, it's not technically a Molex. Everybody calls this Molex. This is a 4-pin, there's another name for it, but we'll call it a Molex. There's a little tab here. Lift this up. Pull it out. Pull on both sides of this at the same time. What you don't want to do is tug this way and put too much force on the power cable. Our drive cage is now clear. All these cables are out of the green clip. The 3 screws are undone, and the data and hard drive cables are disconnected. And here is why we did this. That comes right out. Now, you can see we've got our hard drive. This, by the way, is the serial ATA data connector. This is the serial ATA power connector. These are diagnostic pins for the manufacturer. You'll never do anything with those. It is actually mounted on rubber mounts that isolate its vibration and noise from the case. This is actually really nice. These are the slots that slide into here, so it slides right in and out, those 3. If I turn it over on the bottom, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. Those 4 holes are what we're going to attach the SSD to. Now, I'm going to move this to the side for just a minute because we need to open up our SSD package. And this is actually glued shut. They don't provide a nice, easy way to open this, and so I have to tear the box. I have picked out a rather nice SSD for this machine. This is a 960 gigabyte SanDisk Ultra 2. Very fast drive, one of the faster ones on the market. I have actually done a deal alert on these in the past. These are really well priced for the performance they provide. Now, probably the fastest drive on the market is going to be the Samsung 850 EVO. I love the 850 EVOs. I own 2 of them. However, they're expensive. A 1 terabyte, which is basically what this is, 4% less, a 1 terabyte 850 EVO is $300. I bought this for $200. That's a screaming deal. Now, on the day I shot this video, they were a little higher. They were about $220. They go on sale regularly. If you can find one of these for $200, even $209, for almost a terabyte, it's 4% smaller than a terabyte. Basically same thing. For a terabyte of extremely fast flash storage, what a deal. So that's what it looks like in the package. There is the download instructions for the SSD dashboard. We'll talk about those when we get back into Windows. Basically, that's all there is to it. For $200, it's basically a fancy flash memory stick. And we'll open it up. Put that aside. And that's it. It's just some flash memory sticks. If you've ever used a USB flash thumb drive that you plug in a computer, that's really all it is. It's fancier than that. It's faster. It's got a better brain on it, a better controller, but that's all it is. If we turn it over to the back, you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes. Now, let me caution you. As good a deal as this drive is, it does come with cloning software It does not come with drive screws. If you don't have drive screws, make sure you order drive screws with it. Now, I have piles and piles of screws because I own way too many computers. But if you do not have drive screws, I'll put a link on Amazon to where you can order some. You want to take the external drive cage and make sure you're looking at the power and data connector. You want to take your drive and line it the same way with the power and data connector. If I slide it in, now I'm holding this upside down. Those two screws connect right here. If I slide this in, those holes will line up, if I can see. There we go. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but they are lined up. Now I have 4 drive screws over here, which I will, oh, well, the downside of the magnetic bit is it picks up the screw. Go figure. It's wonderful when taking screws out, but sometimes putting them in, it gets a little overexcited. Here we go. Don't use a lot of pressure here, just finger tight. It's just plastic. There's no moving parts, there's no vibration. You could probably screw them in halfway and it would work. Just finger tight. We're not building an industrial combine here. Oh, there's my magnetic screw. Come on. You can enjoy watching me fumble about with that. Now, I have done a clone video with an SSD before. That was in the Lenovo H50. I think I'm finally pronouncing that right. Several people, I used to call it Levino. People have been correcting me. Lenovo H50. Now, that was with a Kingston SSD that did not come with cloning software, and that computer didn't have a nice place to screw it in like this, so I ended up kind of jury-rigging it, but it worked. And that video was long. This video won't be as long because this drive comes with cloning software. That drive is in securely. So all we want to do is look 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Do watch this, that it doesn't catch on the cables. And nice and secure. Perfect. So I'll take those screws, I'll do one on the front first. And now I'll do the one in the back to make sure I can reach it. You can't really see it, but it's there. If you've got this machine and you're doing it, you'll find it. Okay. Now, power. This was plugged into our hard drive before. There are actually 3 connectors on the end of this cable. The first is the, well, we call it the Molex, the 4-pin. Ignore it, you don't use it. The other 2 are serial ATA power connectors. Great, we have 2 drives. It does not matter which order you plug them in, but do keep in mind they're keyed. There's a little L shape, there's a 90-degree turn. Just make sure that the plug, the 90-degree plug, matches up. These don't take a lot of force to push in. Just make sure that matches up, and just make sure that your power is tucked. Actually, you know, a good way to do that. See if that works. Nope. There we go. Depending on how you twist the cable, it'll make the power cable stay inside. This, I'm going to just flip this back up and stick it where it was. Now, data. This cable was plugged into the hard drive before, and I'm going to put it right back there. But where's our data cable for the SSD? Unfortunately, they never seem to give you these cables when you buy these machines. You will also need a cable. I will link to this in the video description below as well because the drives don't come with one, but I've got piles of them. Now, these are also keyed. Let's see if I can get this on camera. That's also keyed with the L shape, just like the power connector. There are 4 ports on this motherboard. 3 are being used, and they are hidden so very far behind that video card, it's going to be very hard for you to see, but they're right down there. You might or might not be able to put this in with the video card in place. You might have to move the card. I'm going to try, but that's tricky. You know what? We're just going to take the card out. I'm going to walk around this side of the camera. Hopefully I don't hit it. There is right here, I'll lift this up, a screw holding this bracket on. That's keeping the video card in place. You might be able to get that cable in. If you see this and decide to try it without moving the video card, by all means, try. It's just very tight. There we go. This just pops up just like that. Now I'm going to disconnect the power from the video card. There is a tab that you have to click in here to pull it out because it's otherwise secured. Let's move that to the side. Now the video card will not come straight out of the motherboard without you pressing the release pin. How do I get that? It's right here. It's white and it's just almost directly underneath the power cord, and you push down on it. And when you push down, it actually releases the video card. And that's very tight. And that doesn't want to release. It's being here we go. Nope. Boy, that is stuck in there. I might use the tip of the screwdriver. Be very careful if you do this. Be very careful that you don't hit the motherboard. I'm using the tip of the screwdriver to put pressure on it. Do you want to release? Never use a lot of force. If you have to use a lot of force, something's wrong. Boy, that doesn't want to release, does it? That tab is what is holding that video card in place. And you have to be able to take it out because if you want to replace the video card, you should be able to do this with your finger. But it's, oh, okay. I say you're not supposed to use a lot of force. I just pushed a little harder on the plastic tab and it came, the plastic tab just went straight back. So I just wasn't pushing hard enough. I never like using a lot of pressure. There we go. There's our, oh, I'll have to plug that back in. No worries. There's our video card. This is our GTX, and that's the standard blower, it says don't touch. That's the standard blower style fan, which sucks air in from inside the case and blows it out the back vent. Pretty straightforward. I'll put that aside. This cable that came off, this is the wire for the Wi-Fi antenna. And, okay, pull this up. This is your Wi-Fi card right here. This computer comes with AC Wi-Fi. Very, very good Wi-Fi, but it has to have an antenna. And this antenna actually runs to the front of the case. There are two cables, a white one and a black one. And there are, on the edge of the Wi-Fi connector, a place, the video camera's not going to pick this up, but it's actually like a scoop or a hook on the end here. If you were seeing this in person, it would be clear and obvious. It simply snaps back on to the Wi-Fi card. So if that comes off, don't fret. Just, boy, that is small. It is. Just be a little bit patient with it. It's just very small. Of course, I don't use the Wi-Fi, so I don't really care, but it should be in there. My big fingers are not helping me here. I might need to get a tool for this. Oh, no, maybe I've got it. There we go. There is a click when it snaps back into place. And so you can see the white and the black wire. I had just pulled the white wire off when I pulled the video card out because it was just hiding behind the video card. So, yep, that's That's now securely in place. I heard that click. Okay. Are we having fun yet? Cable. If you look down here, you can now clearly and easily see the fourth place to plug in a cable. It goes straight in. There is an audible click. The microphone probably didn't pick it up, but I could hear it. Now I want to route this through their cable management system if there's room, and that's very tight. Yep, there's room. So I'll lift this up. What I did is I routed it inside their clip cable management on the bottom. Cable management is a nice thing. And then I simply plug it in there. Nice. Just double check them, make sure they're secure. Double check all the other plugs on the board, make sure I didn't pull anything out when I was manhandling that video card out. You can see the clip now on the, I was pushing the very small edge right here. This is the part you're actually supposed to push, but it's unfortunately under the video card. Dedicated motherboards would have a wider piece that you can reach easily both sides, ones that you build and install yourself. Now that the video card's out, by the way, you realize you can put basically any standard video card in here that you want. That's a standard PCI Express X16 slot. And I just noticed something interesting. I didn't see this before because it was covered by the video card. There is an M2 SSD slot right here. I am going to go grab something. This will just take 2 seconds. I have this for my server, which I haven't installed yet. I didn't know this had an M2 slot. It's not listed in the product literature. But I see that the mounting bracket is there for one of these. Samsung 950 Pro. This is an NVMe Express SSD. Much, much faster, up to 5 times faster than these serial ATA SSDs. But they're expensive. This was $200 for a terabyte. This was $320 for 512 gigabytes. Half the space for 50% more money, but it's 5 times the performance. This is actually this card here with a notch on one end and a golden fingers on the other, and what it does is the golden fingers plugs into this slot and the notch goes onto this side, and it actually plugs into the motherboard right there. That's actually really cool. So they provide you with a M2 slot. These are a little bit expensive at the moment. If you were going to buy one of these, I would put it into the $1,500 version of this machine, not this one. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a high-performance SSD, you want premium components. So get the $1,500 or $1,450 version of this machine. I'll link it in the video description if you want to do something like that. And I do plan to do a review of this. I just haven't opened it yet. That's cool. Sorry. Back to what we were doing. Video card. Now the trick to putting this back in is to make sure that we don't bang anything. And it goes straight in vertically, but you've got to watch this part here. That's why I didn't want to take it out. But I learned something. I didn't know there was an M2 slot down there. This is just a matter of lining it up in the slot and lining up over here on the outside. It sticks through the case. And it goes straight down. You might have to rock it front to back just a little bit. Rock it this way, not this way. There, it clicked in. And this part is not in, so let me... The back is not in. There we go. That took a bit of a, I don't want to say a shove. I never want to say shove in a computer. That took a bit of a push. Make sure we plug our power cable back into the video card. Make sure we clip that back over. Make sure I put the screw back in. I had taken this out on the side over here. This screw just holds it securely in place. Put that back. Now, we are done with the physical installation part. We have got our solid state drive connected with power, and we've got it connected with data. We've verified we've replugged the data back in for the hard drive. The power is in for the hard drive. We've verified that we've upgraded our RAM. We've got both sticks into the black slot. Now, you can actually install them both in the white slot as well, but it came by default in the black, so just put it in the black. We put our video card back in. We've double checked that our power's back in. This will not work without the power installed. And we fixed our PCI, our wireless, our Wi-Fi antenna. And now we're ready to screw it all back together. Let me grab the lid that's sitting over here. When you put this on, you'll see this much metal, and it'll be flat, and then it just slides shut. I might have it caught on something. This, and there we go. Make sure your cables aren't sticking up. See how this goes together. Put our screws back in. Oh, you know what? I know that is the problem. I put the screw in the wrong place. You know, we all make mistakes. I put this here, and that doesn't belong there. That went, where did this go? Did this go here? Yep, that's exactly where that went. That screwed that down. This screw hole here is supposed to handle the black screw. I was wondering why it didn't line up right. If something's not lining up, you're probably not doing it right. That was my fault. There we go. Now it lines up right. Put our screw in. That's much better. Again, you're not screwing these super tight, just reasonably tight. You'll notice I'm not using a power tool. I don't use power tools on computers. It's too easy to break stuff. And you see, it's all nice and flush. All right, that's the end of this part of the video. We're going to cut here, and then we're going to switch back to Windows being booted up, and I'm going to show you how to clone the data from the hard drive to the SSD and how to verify that we've successfully installed our 8 gigabytes of RAM. And welcome back. Now, we are booted up to Windows. I've shown you how to install the memory. I've shown you how to install the solid state drive into your computer. First, let me show you how to verify that the memory is in fact installed. There are two easy ways to do this. The first is we're going to come down to our Start menu, but we're going to click the right mouse button, not the left. When I click the right mouse button, I get the menu you see on the screen over there. I'm going to go from the top down 4 places to the one marked System. Now, if you look at this page, it's all sorts of information about your computer, but what you're looking for is installed memory or RAM. It's right in the middle of the page, and it says 16 gigabytes. It previously said 8. We added 8, so we have a total of 16. The other place you can check this is you can right-click on your taskbar on the bottom of the screen, come up 3 places, and choose Task Manager. Now, if you've never opened Task Manager before, that's what it will look like. There's almost no information at all. You have to click the button More Details. You want to then click Performance, which is the second tab across the top, and then you want to click Memory, which is the second one on the left-hand side down. We have 16 gigabytes installed. Now, if you actually look at the amount of RAM the system can see, it's 15.9. That's okay. There is 66 megabytes, which is very small, hardware reserved. All these machines have something reserved for hardware. Don't worry about it. Previously, it actually said 7.9. Now it says 16.9. We've added 8 gigs of RAM. It's working properly. Wonderful. So, if by chance you were only interested in installing the RAM and you don't care about the SSD, you're done. If you do have the SSD installed, by all means, keep watching. Now, I'm going to open up Windows File Explorer, and click on this PC, and you will notice it says Acer C, 559 gigabytes free of 930, and the DVD drive and nothing else. Wait a minute, you say, we just installed an SSD. Yes, we did, but there's nothing on it. It's not formatted, it's not partitioned, it's not set up, don't worry about it. I'm simply pointing out to you that Windows doesn't have a drive letter assigned, you can't use it as it stands, but it is there. If we go back to Task Manager and Performance, there's our disk 0, our C drive. That's our Western Digital 1 terabyte drive, but we have a new entry. Look directly below it, and there's now disk 1. And if you look at the label, it says SanDisk Ultra 2 960 gigabytes. So the computer sees the drive, but there's nothing on it. It's completely, totally blank. Now, thankfully, SanDisk provides an easy-to-use program to handle this. We're going to open our favorite web browser. We're going to type in SanDisk SSD clone. And the first non-add option says SanDisk SSD Concierge Service Cloning Guide. I will put a link to this in the video description below. You can search for it as well. On this page, it's a set of step-by-step instructions. You have to click Next to continue. And what we're really interested is in the link to the software. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. This is a free cloning program that SanDisk provides to let us do this. Now, the company that makes this wants to upsell you. They offered it for probably 10 cents a drive to SanDisk in exchange for putting advertising out there. You don't need to buy anything. Ignore their prices. All you need to do is click the really big download button right at the top of the page. This is a single-use promotional license for EZ-Gig. That's fine. We only need to use it once. They're hoping to sell you on an upgrade, but you don't need this but once. So that just takes a minute to download. So we click on it to run. Yes, we want to allow this to make changes to our system. You can now safely close your web browser. So we've got EZ-Gig 4 startup options, and I'm just going to click Start EZ-Gig. Now there are advanced options you can play with in this system. We're not going to do this today. We're going to choose the easy mode. You may, oops, I dropped it. You may, well, there's nothing in it, it's an empty box now. You may get a 960 gig, which is almost the same size as 1 terabyte, but it's actually not, it's 40 gig smaller. Or maybe you get the 480 or the 240 version of this drive. A 240 gigabyte SSD is about $60. A 480 gig, about $500, is about $110, and this drive is about $220 today, give or take. Now, there is more data on the drive than will fit onto a smaller SSD, but the cloning software will automatically adjust the size of the drive partition to fit on the drive. You can manually play with this, but that's outside of the scope of this video. Click the big Let's Get Started button on the bottom. It's now scanning for connected drives. It found 2 of them. It found our Western Digital, the WDC stands for Western Digital Corporation, and that's our 1 terabyte drive. It wants to know the source drive. Well, that's going to be our hard drive. Destination. Well, we want the SanDisk Ultra 2. You are almost ready to clone. Please verify that the source and destination drives in the information box above are correct. And you'll see the WDC 1 terabyte drive is the source. The destination is our SanDisk. We are good to go. Next, copy data. You have to click Start Clone down at the bottom. Are the source and destination drives listed below correct? All data on the destination drive will be permanently erased. If you mix this up and choose the drives backwards, you will end up with 2 blank drives in an unbootable computer. Source 1 terabyte drive, destination SanDisk Ultra 2. We are good to go. Start copying. Now, this will take a while. Because I've got games and other things installed on this computer, this is going to probably take an hour and a half to run. When you do this, go do something else. Go walk the dog, feed the kids, whatever it is you want to go do, this is going to take a while. How long it takes will depend on how big your hard drive is, how much data is on your hard drive, so on and so forth. But this, with the amount of data I have on there, I expect this will take an hour and a half. I'm not going to film it all. It would take way too long. So now it says analyzing file system. I'll cut this video in a second. We'll skip to the end. So it isn't copying yet. It's analyzing the file system to make sure it can read everything on the drive. Now it says copying. Okay. It says elapsed 22 seconds. Now remaining is blank. It hasn't run long enough to get an estimate of how long it's going to take. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, that's a fast hard drive. 140 megabytes a second. It says it'll take 44 minutes. I would have thought it would take an hour and a half. I'm thinking of 5400 RPM drives. This computer comes with a good hard drive. The hard drive that the machine comes with is one of the faster hard drives. It's not the fastest hard drive, but it's one of the faster drives you can get. That's impressive. 43 minutes. Okay. At this point, I'm going to cut the video, and I will see you in 42 minutes. And we're back for just a minute. I may not stay here the whole time. We'll see. It's coming up. It's got about 17 seconds left, probably on the partition it's working on. It says 88% complete. And it may have a little bit more to do or it may not. We will see here in just a minute. There's one or two more steps to do once the clone is actually complete. We've got to reboot and reassign the drives in the BIOS to which drive it boots from, and then we have to clean off the 1 terabyte drive and get it ready for use for data. Because you don't need to leave Windows and all your data on it. There we go. Congratulations, your clone was completed successfully. A complete copy has been created. The destination medium has been adjusted automatically. Source drive is the 1 terabyte Western Digital. The destination is the SanDisk Ultra 2. Sectors copied. That took 44 minutes and 32 seconds. Less than I originally predicted, but almost exactly what the program said, so no worries. It copied 380 gigabytes of data. And please remove the destination drive before restarting your computer. So now we're going to close the program. Now just to show you what it's done, I'm going to open up File Explorer and click on this PC, and you will now see a C drive and an E drive. The E drive is a little bit smaller than the C drive because the C drive is 1 terabyte and the E drive is 960 gigs. So they actually both have the same files. There's 12 items listed there. That's the C drive. That's the hard drive we're booting from now. And there is the E drive, 12 items. So they're exactly identical. If we just reboot now, the system will just boot back to the hard drive. We've got to tell the computer now to boot to the solid state drive. I'm going to go to the Start menu, click Power, and click Restart. And what we have to do here is hit the Delete key before Windows starts booting. And I'm going to hit it repeatedly to catch the BIOS at boot. Each computer has a different key. I think it was F1 on the Lenovo H50. This one is delete, I believe. I looked it up earlier. You don't have a long window to catch it. Entering BIOS Setup menu. So I just kept hitting delete repeatedly. Now here we are in the BIOS Setup menu. Caution, don't mess with anything in here just because it looks interesting unless you know what you're doing. We're only going to change one thing. And if you look across the top, you're going to see Main, Advanced, Power, Authentication, Security, Boot Options. We want boot options. Use the arrow keys. The mouse doesn't work here. Use the arrow keys to come over to Boot Options. it automatically is selected on first boot device. Press enter there. And it says Windows Boot Manager. Oh, because it's, okay. Correction, I'm used to non-UEFI BIOSes. You want to go down. This also may be a little different depending on the computer you're using. That's why I'm doing an SSD clone on most of the machines that I review, because how you do this changes from machine to machine. Go down, oh, nope, I hit the wrong key. Use the down arrow key to go down to hard disk drive priority and press enter. First boot device, Windows Device Manager, Windows Boot Manager. We want to come down to UEFI SanDisk Ultra 2 Partition 1. Second boot device, I'm going to disable that. That should work. So first boot device I changed to the SanDisk Ultra 2. Now I'm going to press F10. If you look in the instructions down here, it says press F10 to save and exit. Save changes and exit, yes. Now let's see if it boots to the SSD. It will be clear and obvious based upon the boot speed. I'm not touching anything on the keys. It should, if it boots correctly to the SSD, it will go very fast. Wow. Look at that. Lord, that was fast. Okay. Now, at this point, we'll open up Windows File Explorer. You've still got your two drives. All your files are still on the hard drive. There's no need to leave them there. We're using, how much space? We're using 371 gigabytes. We're using almost, not quite half, a third of our hard drive with files that are duplicated between the drives. Here's the thing. Now that we've verified that the computer is in fact booting to the SSD, it's time to format the hard drive. Just be sure that your machine is in fact booting to the SSD. These sizes are similar because I've got nearly a 1 terabyte SSD. This would be much more blatantly obvious if this were a 480 or a 240. What we're going to do is we're going to right-click on the E drive and come down to Format. You're going to keep all the defaults, but one thing I personally would do is change the volume label from Acer to Data, just because it makes it easier to know that's your data. You're going to click Start. It's going to come up and say, are you absolutely sure that you want to format this drive? Yes. Are you absolutely sure that you want to erase everything on this drive? Yes. Now, I'm not going to do it here because I'm not actually leaving this SSD in this computer. I'm not putting a 1 terabyte SSD in here. I did this simply for demonstration purposes. So I'm actually going to pull the SSD out at this point, leave the hard drive in place, and that's why I'm not going to format the E drive. But you would at this point click Start, you would format the drive, and then you're done. That's it. There's nothing else to do. You now have a blank 1 terabyte drive to save your files on, and you've got your SSD booting the computer, and you saw just how fast that was. So was this video helpful to you? Like it. Was it not? Well, that's okay. Be sure to click subscribe to my channel. I post a video about every day or every other day. I would certainly appreciate the support. I've got lots more of these videos coming. Comments, questions, feedback, thoughts, suggestions, ideas, constructive criticism. That's what the comment section is below for. I do read the comments, I do reply to some of them, and any and all thoughts, random feedback, and suggestions are certainly appreciated. Now, a link to this machine, as well as a selection of solid-state drives that I recommend, will be in the video description below. A link to the upgraded version of this machine, the one that's 1450, will also be there. It comes with an SSD already included, as well as like everything else upgraded as well. And if you want more of a super level machine, it's something to consider. If this video was helpful, if all of the videos on my channel are helpful and you want to support me, use those links, go buy something on Amazon, even if it's a jar of peanut butter. It certainly helps me out and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.